Please call the medic, this beat came to me on a stretcher. In the lab, I step to the mic and feel like I'm Dexter. I'm a man, dark world, but I'm still shining like treasure. Yeah, I got joy like ha ha ha. Wait, and I can't wear smiles, that's fake. Then I'm between love and strong. Hate clock says no time for mistakes. Ring the alarm, sirens go off, but I'm calm. My life resides in his palm. Submit to my pops, respect for my mom. Honor them both, so my life will be long. Third time, get the charm of the third strike. Had to.
What's going on out there, drivers? I hope everybody had a great day. Hope everybody's doing well. Might be a little loud. There's a truck next to me idling. Oh man. Not feeling too well. I just woke up. It's about 9 o'clock at night. I had a procedure done today, an oral procedure done today, and I got one more, and I might actually have a nice set of teeth for the first time in 30 years. You know, it's something I've talked about a couple times on here, but I don't talk about it a whole lot. You know, but like I always tell you, I ain't nobody. I struggle with everything just like everybody else does, man. But I thought I'd go ahead and share my story. I wasn't gonna talk about it. I was just gonna do my thing and one day show up with some beautiful pearly whites, but I guess I'll go ahead and talk about it. You know, own it. I guess, as some of the YouTubers say, own it. Own it. Well, I'm gonna own it. I'm gonna tell you all about it. You know, I'm 42 years old, and some of you might say, man, you ain't had great teeth in 30 years. Well, you know, I talked about what happened when I was a teenager. Drug deal gone bad kind of things. Gunshots rang out, and piece of fragment. That's why I keep a goatee. And you'll notice on my goatee, in some of my pictures, it doesn't grow quite right on one side. And that's because of a piece of fragment that went through there. It totally destroyed that side. And it's been rebuilt. The gum's been rebuilt. Jaw's been rebuilt. All that stuff's been rebuilt, right? So, and I have a lisp when I speak sometimes. Certain letters, certain words are hard for me to pronounce because of that. I've been to the dentist, more times than I can count. But it goes back further than that. You know, you start out with decent teeth in life, right? Most people do. I did. I had a beautiful set of teeth when I was a kid, when I was real little. And then I was in the fifth. I was in the 5th grade going to the 6th grade. It was that summer, going from elementary school to junior high. And I'm about to show my age here, man. My parents had rented some movies, and there was a movie place that we rented from that was right next to the apartments that we lived in. Like, you walked across the street, and then you could walk across this grass and walk behind it, and you could come out in the shopping mall. There was an Eckerd's drugstore on one side. There was this movie place on the other. My birthday earlier that year, back, you know, because this happened during the summer. My birthday's in January. So earlier that year in January, the night of my birthday party, my bike got stolen. Someone cut the chain on it. It was chained to the stairs. We lived in a downstairs apartment, and I had it chained to the stairs out front. They knew I had again, I'm about to show my age, but I had a birthday party at Pizza Inn that my parents had put on for me, and when I got home that night, my bike was gone. And I'd already knew who stole it, because, you know, rumors kind of pass of that kind of stuff, you know, and I'd already caught word. And the guy, or the kid that had stole it, was a couple years older than me. I would say he was probably 7th or 8th grade. But he had an older sister that dated this guy who was in high school. He was probably a sophomore in high school. Well, I didn't realize the depth of what I was getting into, but I was going around the apartment complex, and I kept trying to find this guy. Like, I kept telling him, and I can't remember his name, not the older guy, but the 7th or 8th grader. You know, I was like, dude, I want my bike back. Tell him I want my bike back. You know, we're gonna fight. I want my bike back. Yada yada yada. You know, and I was a pretty tough kid, so I figured I could take him, even as a 5th going into 6th grader, a couple years younger than him. I figured I could take him. You know, he was skinny, tall and skinny. I've always been kind of stocky, so I don't know. I had it in my head I could take him, right? But I didn't realize what was actually going to happen. But anyway, my parents sent me with some videos to go take back to the video store. Fast forward, this is summer. This is that summer a few months later. And I'm walking across that grass. We used to play home run derby back there. I don't know if any of you guys out there ever played home run derby when you were a kid, man, but it was a lot of fun. We used to play home run derby back there. And I was walking across the back of that shopping mall, and then there was a break where, like, there was a little bit of a field where the shopping mall ended. There was a field, and then there was more shopping mall. And right there, whenever you came out, there was a movie store right there. When you came out and when you walked through that grass to the front of the shopping mall. So I walked up there, I returned the movies, and then I was walking back. I was headed back to the apartments. And when I walked down the side of the building, and I was just rounding the corner into the back of the shopping mall, and 3 older boys showed up. 2 of them I didn't know. One of them was the guy that was dating that guy who stole my bike's older sister. And you know, he popped off at the mouth, and I popped off back at him. Even as a little kid, you know, I wasn't going to take it. I wasn't going to take no disrespect. You know, win or lose, I'm not going to be disrespected. So he swung on me, and he got a good lick in, man. He popped me right. I mean, I'll never forget. I can still see his fist to this day. He got me right square in the mouth, man, and chipped my my right front tooth from the gum all the way down at a diagonal. And, you know, our parents didn't have a whole lot of money growing up. So I didn't get to go to the dentist. It never got fixed. But I had that for years, all the way up until that incident. And when I had that incident, I still had that chipped tooth, and then it destroyed the bottom right side of my mouth. But I don't know. It was just I kind of got used to it. I got used to, and everybody knew me just knew, you know. I mean, I got that chipped tooth, and I had a lot of respect around town and stuff. So people just generally didn't mess with me a whole lot about it, you know. And I'd gotten used to it. Well, fast forward a few more years, and I started driving trucks. And when I started driving trucks, you know, I'd save up the money, and the way this has always worked out with the dentist and with the oral surgeons and stuff like that is I'd save up the money, and then I'd go get some work done. Then I'd save up some more money, go get some work done. Same time I'm paying for my kids and paying child support, paying whatever bills I got at the house, taking care of whatever's going on at home. You know, so sometimes I was able to get more work done than others. And sometimes when you get work done, and when you got a situation like that, it don't always come out right. Sometimes it makes your speech a little worse. Sometimes it makes eating a little harder. You know, it does all kinds of things to you. I don't know if any of you out there have ever been through it, but you would think, well, you're going to go have some work done, you'll be good. No, it's a step process. Not every step in the process makes it better. The end goal is better, but sometimes that step in the process doesn't work out quite right. And it'll actually make your situation a little worse temporarily until your next procedure. You know, as they bone graft and do all kinds of things, you know. But, yeah, it's been a wild ride. Well, I've got one more surgery on the 24th of this month. And I'm going to go tomorrow and see if I can get it moved up to the 17th. But as of right now, it's on the 24th. It's going to be a 3-hour procedure. And when I come out of that procedure, for the first time in 30 years, I'm actually going to have teeth. A full set of nice teeth for the first time in 30 years. Some of y'all, that might not be a big deal. But to me, it is. You know, this, today I paid $14,703, I think it was. I'd have to look. It's 14,700 something. And that pays for my next procedure. And it's freaking awesome. And a while back, I was talking about buying a truck. And I was going to buy a truck. I was going to put off this, go buy a truck, and do that. And I got to watching the market, and at the same time, I was like, Snapper, that's not the responsible thing to do, dude. You got the money. Let's go finish this stuff up. It's been long enough. So instead of buying a truck, I took basically every dime I had. I'm going to go get this thing done. Instead of buying a truck, instead of going that route, instead of doing all that, I'm going to go do this. And then I'll have these, this set here I'll have for the next 6 months. And then in 6 months, I'll have another procedure done. And I will have a permanent set at that time. Or a permanent set. And they're going to lock in. They'll actually be implanted post, and they will lock in, and they won't be the kind that you take out or anything like that. They'll be set in there. You know, and they'll have to go to the dentist every so often, and, you know, all that kind of stuff after that. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to being able to smile again. Everybody not thinking I'm mad all the time. I'm looking forward to having a reason not to get in a fight, because that, you know, when you're messed up, it really don't matter. I mean, what are they gonna do? Hit me in the mouth? I don't give a shit. Let's get after it. You know, but I got a brand new set of pearly whites that collectively cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm not gonna want to get hit in the mouth. You know, but hey, I mean, it is what it is. Trolls out there, they can make fun of it. Trolls out there can say what they won't say. It's all good. I don't care. You know, most of them wouldn't say it to my face anyway, so I don't really give a shit. But I wasn't going to share this with everybody, but I figured I'd let everybody in on it. Share this story with everybody. Share a little piece of my personal self. You know, I talk trucking and all that on here, and I tell what I've learned over the years and stuff, but it's rare, real rare, that I get into my personal business, my personal life, and what all is happening with me and things like that. And you know, I figured I'd put it out there. You know, let y'all have at it. And those guys out there that ain't got no content, they can grab it and they can use it for content. You know, it'll be fun. Always welcome that kind of stuff. I saw a troll the other day. I thought it was freaking hilarious. It was Snapper's Dentures, and he deleted his message before I could reply to it. But I was going to reply to him like, "Hey man, I really need you. I wish you'd get offline and come show up. You know, I really could use them dentures." But it'll be nice to be able to eat regular. Like, I got to be real careful what I eat. You know, I got exposed nerves in some places, and sometimes when I'm eating, it'll hit that nerve, sets me off. Sometimes I don't sleep that well, because when I go to sleep, my mouth will dry out, right? Especially if you're breathing through your mouth. If you're not breathing through your nose, your mouth will dry out. And then when that happens and it hits that nerve, it'll wake me up. So there's times I get 4 or 5 hours sleep sometimes, and then I wake up, you know, and I'll be in pain for a while. It takes me a little bit to get back to sleep. You know, and I'm always taking Advil and Tylenol back and forth on a regular basis, and dealing with that kind of stuff. It'll be nice to be past that point. It'd be nice to get past that phase in my life and on to the next phase in my life, for whatever that may be. You know, and to rewind, I was going to tell a story about that guy. You know, that guy, when I was in 5th grade, 5th going into 6th, that guy hit me in the mouth, chipped my tooth. And of course, I never got my bike back. I tried several times. But this is a lesson for you youngsters out there. I got up, they took off, I got up, and I don't know if you've ever been hit and chipped a tooth, but you can taste the blood in your mouth, and you can feel the grit of the tooth, or whatever it was, you know, exploded in your mouth. And then that tooth gets real sensitive. So I'm spitting that pieces of teeth out, And I'm spitting it in my hand because I'm trying to figure out what it is at first because I'm kind of in shock. And I can see the little white specks in my palm of my hand. So I'm like, oh crap, I thought I lost a whole tooth. I thought they had shattered a whole tooth because I got hit pretty good. And of course he was a lot bigger than I was. But I walked on home and I walked in the house, and my mom, man, she freaked out because I got blood running down my shirt. You know, and I'm talking to her. She can see that my front tooth is chipped up. She asked me, who did this? Who did this? And I just told her that I was walking home and some guys jumped me. I didn't know who they were. I never told her that it was connected to the bike. I didn't tell her anything that would give her any information as to who might have done it. And she called the law. And the law come out there and they talked to me. They asked me for a description of who it was that jumped me and stuff. And at that time, I was living in a predominantly white and black area. It was kind of lower middle class, and it was mostly blacks and whites that lived in those apartments. There wasn't any Hispanics. The Hispanics lived across town. I was living in Clute, Texas at that time. And so I described to these cops three Hispanic males, because I knew they would ask around and nobody would have seen any Hispanics because there was none around that day, and they just didn't come over there into that area. You know, they lived a little ways away. You just didn't see Hispanics around at that time in that area that I was living in. You know, because you don't snitch, you don't tell. If you got a problem, you deal with it on your own. You deal with it yourself. And that's the way I was raised. You know, and I was raised that way by my dad. You know, you handle life's problems. You know, when you dial 911, it's because you're having a heart attack and you need an ambulance. If someone breaks in your house, you grab a baseball bat and you go to town. You don't call 911. And that's just the way I see it. You know, that's a trait of a man. Not only that, but I knew, like, growing up in the neighborhood, that let's say the cops came and I told the cops who it was that did what they did, that right there would have tarnished my reputation. And once you tarnish your reputation, it follows you the rest of your life. You know, and that's the way it goes, especially around the hood. You know, you guys out there have been around the hood, you know that. You get one shot. You can earn all the respect in the world, but that one time you snitch or you punk out or something like that, and your reputation's gone. You ain't got it no more. And even as a little kid, I knew that. I might have been, well, how old are you when you're going from 5th to 6th? You know, 11 years old, 10, 11, 12 years old, somewhere right in there. You know, I knew that even at that age. You know, and I knew that eventually I'd have my chance to redeem myself for what had happened. But I was going to take that punch like a man. And it actually got me a lot of respect. There was an older kid. I didn't have any video games. Remember at this time, like Sega or something had just come out. It was new. And I didn't have any video games or anything. My parents couldn't afford them. But there was this kid who was a little older than me and lived in the apartments. And he knew about the situation, and he knew that I didn't tell on who had done it and all that. And he kind of took me in, you know, and me and him started hanging out. And he had one of them game stations. You know, it got me a little bit of respect. He was probably their age. He was quite a bit older than me. But let's fast forward a bunch of years later, I get arrested, and I enter into this jail, and I'm in the county jail at this time. And the way this county jail was set up was, once you come out of booking and processing, they took you up to whatever floor they were going to put you on. And then they walked you out of the elevator into this hallway. And then you went down this long hallway, and there were pods. You know, and it'd be like A1, A2, A3. And then it'd be like B1, B2, B3. And then there was a central command center or whatever that controlled the doors for like all the A pods, all the B pods, all the C pods. And you walked down this hallway till you got to whatever pod they were putting you in. Then the boss would open a door. There was a door. First door opened up. You walked in that door. They would close that door. Then you put your hands through the little slot, and they would take the cuffs off of you. And then they would open up the second door. Or if you were being processed in, you wouldn't have cuffs on because you'd have your bedroll and all that stuff, your cuff. your toilet paper and all that kind of crap. So it was like a little corridor there so that the boss didn't have to completely enter the pod. It was also a way for them to handle things when there was a fight or riot or anything going on in there. So anyway, I got my bedroll and stuff. He's walking me down there and he pops the door, the first door, puts me in there, closes that door. Well, there's these windows all in front of me. I'm waiting on the second door to open up so I can actually enter the pod. But I'm looking through all these windows that are in front of me. And I mean, it's so that the guy operating all the doors can see everything that's going on out there, right? And I'm waiting on him to do his thing. Sometimes I can take 10 or 15 minutes. They'll leave you standing there. They'll leave you standing there feeling like an idiot. Any of you have ever been through it, you know what I'm talking about. I've never been a guard, so I don't know what their job is. I don't know what's going on in that picket, but they will leave you sitting there like a fool sometimes. And this was one of those times. So I'm looking through the window and I recognize a face. And wouldn't you know it, the face I recognize is that guy that hit me in the mouth all those years earlier. You know, I recognize him in there. And I'm trying to watch him, but not make it obvious that I'm staring at him. And it's for a couple reasons. One, I'm sizing him up. Two, I'm seeing if he remembers who I am. If he's going to catch a snap as to who I am. And I didn't know if he would or not, because we had only encountered each other maybe 2 or 3 times in our life. And one of them was that time right there behind the movie shop. So I didn't know him all that well. He didn't know me all that well. And obviously I was going to remember him more than he remembered me because of what had happened. But anyway, finally they pop that second door. I enter the pod. I go up to the house that they were putting me in. I go in there. I meet my, your roommate, basically. Your cellie, whatever you want to call him. I meet that dude. And me and him, we click. We're good. I take my roll and I just set it up on my bed. I didn't even unroll it. I didn't unpack it. I didn't put none of my stuff up. I didn't do any of that because I knew I wasn't going to be there that long. And the cat that was in the house with me, I didn't tell him anything, but he knew it as well. Because he saw the way I carried myself. And when you've been in jail a couple times, it don't take long. And you figure that kind of stuff out. And you learn to read that kind of stuff off other people. So I set my roll up there. I seen him go grab a shirt as I was leaving the house. What he was doing was he was wetting it down, fixing to wrap his mouth. Because he didn't know what, but he knew something was wrong. He didn't know if maybe I wasn't any good, or maybe I seen somebody that wasn't any good, but he knew there was a problem. Well, I walk out of the house, and then the guy that's running the thing for the whites, basically, because that's in the county jail, that's kind of how it's split up by race, basically. So the guy that's running the thing for the whites comes up to me and he gives me the 30-second rundown. You know, these are the tables we sit at. These are the showers we use. Mail comes on these days. He's the normal deal. You know what I'm saying? What are you in here for? Who all do you know? What car are you in? You know, the normal thing. He's figuring out who you are, and then he's giving you the rundown to the rules of that section, that pod, whatever you want to call it. If you ever go to jail, every single jail's got one, and you're going to meet them within the first 5 minutes. And it keeps everything in order, keeps the peace. Well, I walk over to this table where this guy is sitting. The guy that had hit me in the mouth all them years earlier. And I cannot remember his name now to save my life. But it was a square metal table or aluminum table or whatever, stainless. And it had these round seats that just had a pole that came out and bolted to the floor. Like you couldn't pick up the seat and move it. Table's bolted down, seats are bolted down. And I walk up there. The first question I ask is, are y'all gambling? And you always want to ask that question because if they're gambling and you interrupt it, you've got a bigger problem on your hands. Even if you're in the right, you never break up that kind of thing. People are making money, they're hustling, they're doing their thing. So you never do that. And they're like, no, man. We're just chilling. You know, and it's one of the tables that we can sit at. So I sat down in one of the empty seats because it's him and another guy playing cards. And there were 2 empty seats there. So I sat down in one. And strategically, I sat down to where the guy that I had a problem with was on my left. Because my hardest hitting hand is my right. And whenever I swing on him, I want as much room between my right and his face. That way I can have as much momentum as possible. I'm going to try to catch him off guard in conversation, and I'm just going to take off on him. I already got this planned out in my head. That's why I didn't unroll my mat. I'm going to lockdown. Well, that guy that first introduced me, or first come out there to me, he comes over to the table right before I get a chance to get into this. You know, he's talking to me some more, and he's like, what car are you in? So I tell him what car I ride with. He's like, all right, well, your people are down there. You don't have any people in this pod. I'm like, yeah, I know. Long story, and we ain't going to get into that. I knew I was going to be with my people in just a few minutes, so it didn't matter. You know, so he's like, man, that's cool, yada, yada, yada. He's asking me who I know. I give him that right quick, and I'm trying to get him to go on, you know, and he's trying to learn more about me, and I'm trying to get him to go on because I'm not going to be here long. Finally, this dude goes on. He goes back to his house. And I think he was going back to write a kite. He was going to write a kite, which is a letter or a note. And then he was going to send it down to that other pod where my people are and let them know I'm there. And that's basically how that goes. And then they send a letter back to let you know whether I'm good or bad or whatever the case may be. Long story. We're not going to get into that either. But anyhow, I get to talking to these two guys. And I'm not wanting this guy on my left to know that I'm there for him. But I'm at first trying to fill it out as to does he remember me? And I catch on real quick that he does not remember me. So I want to make sure he is who I think he is. You know what I'm saying? I want to make sure I don't hit the wrong person or take off on the wrong person. And especially in jail, because you don't know who they are. You don't know who they're connected to. And that could really cause you a problem. So I'm talking to the other guy on my right more, but every now and then I turn and ask the guy on my left a question. And each one of my questions is slowly figuring out that this guy is who I think he is. He's from Clute, Texas, which was a small town. There wasn't a whole lot of people there, you know, and he was or did date that girl that I was thinking of, Tina. And I knew right then that was him. And he, you know, in conversation, like, oh, you know Tina? I'm like, yeah, I know Tina. You know, I met her, you know, passing at parties and stuff like that. He's like, oh, that's cool. So we're chit-chatting. He hasn't caught a snap at all. That Ole Snapper knows exactly who he is. Well, I'm watching him play his card game, talk to him. He's got his cards spread out. He reaches down to pull one of his cards out of his hand. He's got his left hand on his cards. He reaches to grab the cards with his right hand from the very top. As he's pulling that card out, I knew that was my chance. He's preoccupied. He thinks that I'm level, that there's no problem. We've all been laughing and talking for a few minutes. And he is completely focused on what card he's pulling out of his hand. So I kind of set up about 2 inches off of that seat. I kind of got on my toes. I didn't stand all the way up. I just came forward a little bit. And I come across with my right hand, man. I caught him right in his mouth, dead square in his mouth. Hit him as hard as I could. I wanted to chip his tooth too, is what I wanted to do. But it didn't. I don't remember it chipping his tooth or anything like that. It just, I don't know if you've ever seen, like, if you hit a piece of fruit and it just busts and blows up. That's what it looked like. It looked like it just blew up. Blood went everywhere. So I caught him with my left in the nose. I came up on him and I started hitting him. And I fully expected the rest of the white boys to jump on top of me because I was new to the pod. They didn't know who I was. That guy's already established. And, you know, that's kind of just how politics works. But the guy that had been checking me out, I heard him tell one of the other guys back behind me, no, let him handle it. That guy's he's in a different car. So let them handle it. We don't want those problems. So they let me handle it. Man, I just reached over. After I popped him in his nose, came up, I grabbed him by we had these 2-piece jumpsuits, or whatever you want to call them. They're 2 pieces. They were orange pants, orange shirts, orange freaking sandals or whatever. And I reached up and I grabbed his shirt with my left hand after I hit him in the nose, and I pulled it up over his head. And I stood up and he was leaned forward because he was trying to catch the blood coming out of his mouth, trying to figure out what was going on and why I had just attacked him. It caught him and shocked the hell out of him. The other guy, I can tell the other guy's an old timer. He's been around a long time because he hadn't even moved. He's sitting there with his deck in his hand and he's just watching what's happening. He ain't worried about it. He knows he ain't got nothing to do with it. And he's just watching what's going down. He hadn't even moved off the table. And this old boy is leaned forward and I'm standing up now. and his head is right above my knees. I mean, it's in the perfect location. So I just start swinging left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. I already know they're going to drop gas. I'm about to get gassed. I'm about to get beat the hell up by the cops and drug out of here. I'm going to Seg, but that's all right. I beat that guy till the cops dropped gas. And when the cops dropped gas, I beat him until I couldn't breathe anymore. That stuff will just suck the oxygen right out of you. I know in this trucking space, there's quite a few guards in here, and they probably explain that to you. But it's a weird feeling. Some guys get used to it. I've never gotten used to it. It chokes the hell out of me. It burns. I don't like it, but it's just part of it. But I worked on that dude until I just couldn't move no more. When I couldn't move no more, the cops hit me. They hit me with some shields. A couple goon squad come in there and laid me down. They shackled me up and drugged me off to Seg. So I ended up down there with my people. And one of my homeboys was in one of my people was in the house right next to me. You know, and I didn't get any extra time for that or nothing like that. It all ended up getting washed under the bridge, and I did my amount of time I was sent to go do in the county, and I went home when it was time to go home. But there's a lesson in that. And the lesson is, if you ever do somebody wrong, you better never drop your guard. And this is why you don't do people wrong. This right here is why you do not do people wrong. Because if you do somebody wrong, you never know at what point in your life that's going to come back on you. Karma is real, drivers. It will come back on you. And even, let's say, even if it wasn't me that ran into him all those years later, he still would have faced his karma. You know, he was a high school kid. He punched a 5th grader in the mouth one day. All right. He had bad karma. It was coming, whether by my hand or somebody else's. Eventually, he would have had to pay his dues. Life works that way. I truly believe in karma debt. And if you do wrong by somebody, it's going to come back on you. May take 20 years, may take 10 years, may take 15, but it's going to come back on you. And if you do somebody wrong, you better dang well never forget who you did wrong. You're going to have to remember that for the rest of your life just to protect yourself. Because you never know when you're going to be walking out of a store somewhere, walking into a store somewhere, walking from getting a shower. Heck, you may not even be in trucking. You may be in your hometown somewhere. And you just, the world is not that big. You know, you will run into people and run into them years later. You might be walking out of Walmart in your hometown and, oh boy, you did wrong. Is walking in. Y'all make eye contact and it's over. I've always made it a point to try to respect everyone. Now, I do joke around and I'm not perfect, but I try to respect everyone. Because you never know who they are. You never know what they're capable of. You never know what they might do to you or your family. You know, so it's a good practice to respect everyone as much as you can. And when you disrespect somebody, you apologize for it. It's good practice to do that as well. You know, so I hope all of you out there are doing great. I'm kind of looking forward to this thing. And hopefully some of you guys that don't have no content, y'all can make some content out of this. If y'all want, y'all can have at it. You know, I know what it's like. But I appreciate all of y'all for stopping by. And I figured I'd just put it out there. You know, you're either going to ride with me or you're not. And if you don't ride with me, that's fine, man. You know, there's a ton of YouTubers out there. Some of them you're going to like, some of them you're not. That's just the way it goes. You know, I know a lot of YouTubers out there get upset when certain people don't like them. You know, but I mean, we're not all meant to like each other. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of silly of us to think that every YouTuber out there should like us. Or every viewer out there should like us. There's going to be viewers that like me and viewers that don't. The main thing is just be yourself, and the ones that like you are going to like you. The ones that are not are not. You know what I'm saying? Real recognize real. You know, and there's people that recognize me for what I am. I'm an imperfect person. I'm just a trucker. Been out here a few years and like to share my experiences, and that's all it is. But I appreciate all of you guys, man. And y'all be praying for me with this last ordeal, man. It's been a while, and I'm not looking forward to 3 hours of work being done in my mouth. But it is what it is. But I appreciate all y'all and appreciate y'all's prayers and thoughts and all that kind of stuff. And I hope y'all get something good from this video. It's one of my longer ones. It's good hanging out with y'all. Y'all take care. Stay safe.
Please call the medic. This beat came to me on a stretcher. In the lab, I step to the mic and feel like I'm Dexter. I'm a man, dark world, but I'm still shining like treasure. Yeah, I got joy like ha ha ha. Wait, and I can't wear smiles. That's fake. Then I'm between love and strong. Hate clock says no time for mistakes. Ring the alarm. Sirens go off, but I'm calm. My life resides in his palm. Submit to my pops. Respect for my mom. Honor them both, so my life will be long. Third time is the charm of the third strike. Had to.